Next step here, we got some clear vinyl tubing, basically some wiring and stuff. What we're going to do is set up the Z-axis. We're going to connect our spindle motor, or we're going to wire it right now. I'll save the connection for another step. I'm going to route our cooling hoses, and we're also going to wire our NEMA 23 for the Z. We have our cable chain here. This is a 15 by 30. This is, everything will route through there and dump out to the side that's your choice, obviously, but dump out to the side that has the NEMA on it. Mine on this particular build is down on the other end of this gantry, so I'm going to route everything to go down there. And then we'll do one on the side as well, the Y-axis that'll dump into the ground. So the BOM for this one, I said, we got our 15 by 30 cable chain. We got 20 foot of 5/16 OD by 3/16 ID clear vinyl hose. You can find this stuff at Lowe's, Home Depot, Sears. There's several different places. I'm going to send you 20 feet. If you need more, run out and grab some of any of these locations. Plan your work with this stuff. Once we get everything collapsed down and put into the cable chain, it's really hard to redo any of this stuff. So I've got 20 feet of clear hose because I need to reach the back of it to get into my water bucket. I've got 12 foot of 16.4 lead wire. Probably get you. We'll probably put 16.3 in the kit, as these spindles only need 3 wire. I've got some small heat shrink tubing and some regular 4 wire that we're going to use to wire the stepper motor up. I also have to attach the cable chain. I have a M5 by 65, and sorry guys, but a 40, a 9, and a 40, a 6, and a 9 millimeter spacer. That's the only way I could get to the exact right distance I wanted. I also have a drop-in T-nut and an M5 by 10, and this is the M5 65. As far as tools go, also I've got the water pump, which may include in this step, may not. It's pretty simple. We're just going to run a hose to it, plugged in. And then I've got a 5-gallon bucket. Tools, I've got a pencil. I'll show you what this is good for here in a second. Drill bit, we'll need this to open up a hole in the cable chain. A pair of wire strippers, utility knife, and that's about it, guys. So let's go ahead and put a few things together here and see if we can get the Z finished up. Alright guys, so kind of cleared my workspace here, gave myself a little more room. The soldering iron is heating up. I need to really replace that thing. It's older than dirt. All I'm going to do is basically, this is the top to our spindle motor. I'm going to go ahead and strip back these wires a wee bit. Alright, and I've already stripped back the 4 wire as well. So now I have a couple of different colors here, and we're going to solder these together, make this connection, and in comes the pencil. So I'm just going to write right here that I got red to red, black to black, and then there's a green yellow transition. Okay, this will just come in handy later when I go to wire it into the inverter to make sure that I know what wires are what. So let me go ahead and run some small heat shrink tubing down these guys. Actually, let me I didn't have this on the phone, but let me put this bigger one, the bigger diameter heat shrink tubing over everything first. All I'm doing here, guys, is soldering wires together. Thought I should maybe get the camera a little closer, but pretty sure if you're building this, you've done a few builds. So soldering wire is not too big a deal. Use respiratory protection when you're using soldering iron. Contest, but it'll do. So I've got that done now. Let me unravel this bird's nest. There's a slot in the end of this, and there's a slot in the spindle itself. We just want to line those up. A note about this real quick. I haven't found many things on this whole CNC that'll come loose, but I do have a problem with these occasionally, just all the vibrations and such. Wouldn't hurt to maybe put a dab of Loctite on there. Alright. So, that's gonna go back there. I'll probably put a little piece of sheathing or something around this just to make it look a little better. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that now before I put it into the cable chain. So give me just a second, I'll be right back. Grab some funky sheathing here. This is one of the wife's picks. She likes this crazy looking stuff. Ideal to be Hey, I like that. Alright. Maybe put a little zip tie around the base to finish it there later. Alright. Now let's do our stepper motor. It's going to be basically about the same thing. You guys can fast forward through this. I'm basically going to match the wires up. They're pretty darn close. We got a green and a green. We got a red and a red, a blue and a blue, and a black and green. So just do the other three colors. There's not as much worry here. Now what I want to do with my clear hose is cut 2 lengths, 10 feet long. As I said, they'll plan this out. You know, this is going to be for your water system. You want it separated from your electronics. You don't ever want an instance that the water can mix with the electronics. So when you're running and routing all your hoses and everything, will be fine within the cable chain. I've never had an issue in there because everything stays at a nice radius. There's no hard bends. But when you drop down or back against the wall or wherever you're going to put your controller and your water, you want to make sure that these things, as soon as they exit that Y gantry chain, they're completely separate after that. So 2 10-foot runs, but you may need longer, you may need shorter. I always go longer. So I got one of my 10-foot runs here. I'm going to go ahead and take one of these little screw caps off, kill my soldering iron. Don't do any more of that. Pull these little black plugs out. You'll find them underneath the caps. This slides right over there. Make sure the end of your hose is cut pretty square. You don't want it to be not square with the tube. You won't get a full engagement there. So I'm just going to slide this over the nipple that's on the spindle. It doesn't matter which one is which. All we're doing is circulating water through the spindle. There's no in, no out, no check valves, anything to that extent. I'm going to bring this down on this. It is going to be tight. Ooh. Okay, I'm going to take my other run hose and do the exact same thing. 10mm wrench here. I'm just going to snug these down. I'm not going to go crazy with it. I'm not going to try to twist them off or anything to that effect. It's a pretty good seal. There's no reason, as I said, to get aggressive with it at all. I've never had one of these come loose. I leave my CNCs unattended often. I have had a hose come out of the bucket, caused a pretty good mess. Luckily I caught it before it ran dry. But other than that, as far as the water goes, I really hadn't had any issues. Alright, so both of our hoses are attached. Next step is to go ahead and run the hoses through the cable chain, the wires, everything like that, and we want to exit at the far end of the CNC. I'm going to take and adjust the camera a little bit and see if I can get a little better view of what we're doing here. Both ends there. Seems pretty big. I might just have to zoom in on the other end. Okay. For our cable chain, we're going to have to make a couple of quick modifications. Depends on which way this is going to rock. As I said, mine is going to go in this fashion. You may have yours reversed where you exit out of this side instead of the other side. I said kind of ambidextrous. You can mount the X stepper motor on either side. But as I said, mine's going to run like this. So what I want to do in order to attach it to the back of this plate is put a small hole in the clamp, and then we'll put spacers in it. You just need any drill bit that's a little bit larger than a 5mm. Don't get too awful large. So that's all I did, was put a small hole that is going in the face the Z-axis. On the other end, I want to open up these holes inside here because an M5 bolt just won't go through them. There we go. Uh-oh. Now I just opened up that hole just a touch. Now an M5 bolt will drop down in there. Alright. Alright, what I'm going to do with these cable chains is I can do this two ways. I can try to bundle everything together and push it down through there, or I can just pop these caps off. I tend to do it this way. It seems a little easier, a little less fight. It is a little more work, but I'm not about fighting anything with these machines. There we go, all cleared out. Now our cable chain is open and ready to have stuff put in it. I'm just going to lay this across the back 20 by 20 that's support. I'm going to grab all my hoses and all this other business. Kind of clamp things together here. Alright, now what I want to do is put one of these little clips back in right up here at the top. I'm basically trying to get it to hold everything in place for me. There we go. Now, kind of lay this out a little better. Get everything down inside of it. Okay, now we'll put another one at the other end. So this is the far end. I'm just going to go ahead and pop that in there. Now I'm just going to go through the steps of putting all of them, all the little plastic clips back inside. It's all installed now. I need a little more room on this end. There we go. And as I said, we can, probably a good idea to maybe bind these right here with a zip tie or something right at the entrance, just to keep things from moving around too much on you. Our Z rises up and down. Of course, I've taken care of in our cable chain, and it moves back and forth. But with the cable chain, I really like these. Keeps all your wires protected, all that good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this M5x65, 6, 9, and 40, and basically I'm just going to slide this bolt. And don't be surprised if it's not super easy, but slide this bolt through here. Put this spacer on here. This thing back under control. Maybe easier to do the opposite end first. Doesn't matter which one goes first, 6, 9, 40. I just needed a particular gap, and this combination did it for me. And there's holes in the back of the C-beam plate that are already tapped, and that's what we're putting this bolt into. This will kind of retain the top of the chain, and it makes the right bend radius, so this seems like a good location. Hopefully, you know, if there is a better way, these beta testing guys can find it for me. So now that's firmly planted. Now I'm going to take my drop-in T-nut and my M5 bolt. Now remember the hole that we put down here, and drop my T-nut, drop-in T-nut in there. Make sure your drop-in T-nut rotates. I'm going to have to get a better picture down here. I'll let you guys go find here for a second. Okay, so see, now we've got we put a drop-in T-nut right here and our M5 bolt right there. So everything's nice and secured now. We can move this and the cable chain will work, and rotate this up and down. As I said, everything's protected now. Our cable chain's on there good and tight, and for now our Z-axis is done. Almost forgot, I want to show you guys what the bucket and water pump stuff's all about. Now we're not going to connect this just yet, but we need to go ahead and stage it. So here's your water pump that you'll get with the kit. This is to increase volume and to decrease volume. It's got a small threaded coupling on top of it. You'll want to snug this down decently. Don't break the housing. When we get it done, we'll use these little suction cups on the bottom of the water pump. We'll put it in the bottom of our 5-gallon bucket, and that's where we'll circulate water. You can use other things besides water. There are definitely a bunch of different options here. The main thing you'll be looking for is cooling capability and also lubrication to keep the inside of the spindle from rotting. If you use straight water, keep it flushed real often. It's like a fish tank. It will begin to get algae and start creating some pretty nasty stuff. So I'm just going to cut a hole in top of this box because I want my hose and everything to run down through it. that's what we'll do. Be able to slide this down through there. We get at least this much protection. There's still going to be a small hole, but at least our water will be protected by this. We're going to basically just drop this on top of the bucket. When we get underneath the table, wherever you're going to mount it, drop the water pump and both hoses back down in the bottom and let it suction to the bottom. That's about it for right now, guys. We'll hook this up when we get down where I'm going to mount the tiny G and power supply and all that stuff. Alright guys, going to do the Y-axis cable chain now. We're going to do about the same thing as we did last time, only this time we're going to be fastening to a bolt in the center of the open hardware symbol. We're going to need to drill another hole right here, and we're going to use an M5 bolt, go through there, through the cable chain, 6mm spacer, through the threaded hole, and then I'm going to back it up with a nylock nut. I'm also going to use a little bit of Loctite here. This is pretty much permanent setup here, so we don't want to mess with it. What I'm not going to video, because we just did it, I'm going to go ahead and solder the connections for this motor and run them through the cable chain along with all of this, just like we did up top. So basically it'll come around the motor, come around the back side of the motor, and it'll enter our cable chain right here. Then I'm going to, on the opposite end, when I get my machine set to where I want it to be, I'm going to use a wood screw and go through the holes in the cable chain here and basically screw it down to the spoiler board slash mount that we're using for our CNC. I wouldn't go through it. Well, for me, I've got a double stack here. I've got a spoiler board on top of 4x8 sheets, so I did that so that I can change just this piece out. If you're going to do the same, don't get a wood screw that goes through both, because we still want to change a few things on the spoiler board before we completely fasten it down. So I'm going to go ahead and run through this, and then as I said, I'm going to go ahead and wire up the rest of the motors, both the rear Ys and this X motor. It's important to, when you go through the cable chains, make sure you know the difference between your X and your Z motor. You'll have these wires coming out of here, you'll extend them through. Once this one and the Z are in the cable chain, it may be a little hard to tell which one is which. So as I said, I suggest maybe before we do this step, label the Z stepper motor wires down at the other end, and then you'll know the non-labeled one is the X, or however you want to do it. Do them various different lengths, whatever you want. But as I said, once they all get in there and you exit out the opposite end down there, it may be hard to tell which one is which. So let me take and just do the hole inside of the cable chain real quick, and then I'm going to get to doing some soldering. That's clean. Now I'm going to take, and again, I'm going to pop all of these off, and then we'll be able to insert all of our cables and wires. So that's about it, guys. I'm not going to do a video on the rest of it. You've already seen how to get the cables in there, exit them out the back. You've already seen how to solder 4-wire. I'm sure you already knew that before anyway. As I said, once I get all of that put together, I'm going to basically drop my M5 through here, run my 6mm on there. You see, I probably need to change to an M5x15. That's excessively long. You might hit our wheel. So I'll change that to an M5x15 in the bomb. Loctite this thread, and then I'll back it up with the lock nut on the inside. And we want to leave it about right there. As I said, all this will be ran through there. Alright guys, well, that's about it.
next video, I'll be hooking up our tiny Jeep.